Welcome again. This is Things You Might Have Heard from the Conversation Project. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and now that we have some audio, we can tell you that we're going to give you in mere moments the weekend's latest in information, politics, current events, and pop culture news as your go-to supplemental source, if you will, your new side piece that we call ourselves, for both mainstream and unconventional news stories that get missed out. We mix them up together and give you a chance to get some perspective that you might not get from any place else, and a chance to conversate with other people that you may not get a chance to connect to it as well. These stories are all popular stories because you made them popular. We'll explain how the vetting process goes, but what we're going to have for you in a moment is 10 stories that were presented to you out of about 90 stories of the weekend. We took the top 30 stories for engagement rank, gave you 10 to give you, because if you'd be here all day, we did all 30 stories. So we'll get that to you in just a moment. Make sure you stop by our website. This is theconversationproject.com for better details on how this works out without me taking, forever to explain it. So less explanation, more actual news gathering. Let's do that. We're going to give you the news stories for Monday, August 21st, 2023. We're going to get those going right now. Our first headline of the morning reads like this: Russia Luna 25 spacecraft suffers technical glitch in pre-landing maneuver. Russia's first shot at the moon in many, many years did not go off as planned because the rocket basically blew up. A Russian space agency said on Saturday that its moon-bound Luna 25 spacecraft ran into trouble while trying to enter pre-landing orbit. It did not specify whether the incident will prevent Luna 25 from making a landing, but from all practical purposes, it just crashed into the moon. It shot up like a rocket and then went into the planet like a bullet, not landing under as any sort of finesse going forward. Now, Russia's got a lot of things going on right now, and sometimes you have to think, well, maybe we're doing too much. We're fighting a war in Ukraine. We're doing all this disinformation. We're trying to get Donald Trump reelected, and we're trying to go to the moon. There's a lot going on here, and maybe some of that focus should go to one other thing. Now, since many things they're doing are kind of counterintuitive, if you will, you'd think they could kind of back away from the war stuff and work more on the moon stuff. You'd think they'd do that, but that's not what they're doing. They're trying to do it all and not doing it all particularly well at the moment. Our next story: new Tucker Carlson biography bombs with just 3,000 copies sold. This coming from Mediaite, so as you people are going to say, hey, what is your source on this? What you get this fake news stuff. Blame Mediaite for putting out the headline and blame the other people who engaged in the story to get it up here for the morning. The new biography by Chadwick Moore about Fox News host, or former Fox News host, Tucker Carlson, failed to generate much buzz or book sales, despite the book featuring, quote, hundreds of hours of interviews with Carlson. That means the interviewer spent a lot of time getting deep in details with Tucker Carlson, turned this to what it was probably a fairly good read, but the problem basically comes from the built-in audience. The built-in audience being on Fox News is different from the built-in audience being on Twitter and his little show on the internet. Trust me, I have a little show on the internet, and no one cares about what I'm talking about either. So there you go. We'll see what happens. The total number, the official number, is 3,227 hardcover copies in the first week release. 15 on the hardcover nonfiction list, but did not make it onto any of the bestseller lists going forward. 3,000 copies, not a lot of copies, especially in the case where, in a lot of cases, there's some sort of function behindhand or a launch team where people just buy up large lots of them and sell them other places or use them as free gifts, whatever. This did not happen for Tux, so this is a bad showing for what he's showing right now. Not quite sure if it's a bad showing or not, but right now, this is what we have from Stephen A. Smith on Shannon Sharpe, not getting signed by ESPN yet. The word used in the article is desperation over the possibility. So Shannon Sharpe, the loud black guy, will join the other loud black guy on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, as Shannon Sharpe leaves Fox Sports 1 to leave the loud white guy, that being Skip Bayless, who used to yell at the other loud black guy, Stephen A. Smith. You confused yet? Well, the apocalypse of talking heads yelling back and forth and saying nonsense and just, being loud may happen, as the rumors have it that ESPN will take on the Shannon Sharpe factor because he's going to bring folks in. And Stephen Smith still brings folks in. But we'll see if this actually plays out and whether we will have the total apocalypse of sports commentating happening fairly soon. Right now, the word being used is desperation. Not sure if that's a good desperation or bad desperation. Couple of stories as we remind you that football is starting very, very soon. Kickoff for the main season starting off in a few weeks. First story is both tragic. Let's start with the first one. Buccaneers QB John Wolford taken to hospital after suffering neck injury versus Jets. Wolford was taken down by Jalen Holmes and had a movement in his extremities and was being checked out by the trainers. He gave a thumbs up as he was being transported inside the stadium. Jets rookie running back Israel Anabakia was carted from the sideline as well with an injured hot right thigh, ruled out for the rest of that game. This is a dangerous game. This is a serious game. It may be preseason tune-ups, but right now you won't want to see anybody go down anywhere near in the early parts of the season because you want to see them play. After a big year last year with some major injuries, including Damon Hamlin, we kind of like to see some nicer things going on. This next story is not an injury per se, but the happy ending for Jimmy Graham may not be so happy going forward. New Orleans Saints tight end Jimmy Graham arrested after being found wandering in the traffic in California. Now, the source of this is Whiskey Riff, where we pulled this story, but it was on many pages on the internets all weekend long. The New Orleans Saints reunited with the standout tight end Jimmy Graham in the offseason, but he's already having some legal troubles and pleaded no contest to assault charges after being involved in an altercation in the 2022 Pro Bowl in Las Vegas. He's also arrested in California as he was just wandering aimlessly through the town, through the city. No comment was given by anyone, either the Chargers, who used to play for, or the Saints, who plays for now, and literally by police as well. Just a weird incident, and we're hopefully get to the bottom of that fairly soon, because we're looking for good things for the health and well-being of Jimmy Graham, and just I'm looking for good things for the Saints, to be honest. So a little bit selfishness in that way for as a sports fan, but we also want to make the best for the player, the person, Jimmy Graham. Dolly Parton reunites with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr for the emotional Let It Be cover. A reignition? Bringing back the surviving Beatles for a cover of the 1970s classic Let It Be, featuring the greatest singer person in the world, Dolly Parton. Parton said she sang Let It Be with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, and when they were joined by Peter Frampton and Mick Fleetwood. This is going to be a banger when this comes out, so look out for this happening sometime soon. Also sometime soon, maybe it'll get back to work, as the WGA and the AMPTP are going to meet again next week, which is now this week. Writers Guild will meet again this week with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. This is not to be confused with the actual producers, people who walk around with clipboards. These are the people with the money that produce the shows, that make the shows go. For 4 straight days last week, they'll keep talking this week. WGA West issued a call to action to its members earlier today, being the weekend, urging them for public comments for the Federal Trade Commission and Department of Justice to support a proposed revision of their merger guidelines. They want their people to really get into there and read it up and give a vote and give some opinions to this, because they're about ready to get this thing done, which is a good thing. Now, is this a good thing? Kid Rock spotted drinking Bud Light months after shooting up cans of it in protest of Dylan Mulvaney partnership. Kid Rock was allegedly spotted drinking Bud Light at a concert this week, only months after he helped spearhead the boycott of the brand. TMZ published video of Kid Rock at the Skydeck venue in Nashville, Tennessee, holding a Bud Light beer can. Rock's choice of beverage seemed to reflect an often softer attitude towards the brand, as he shot multiple cans of Bud Light with the MP5 submachine gun and gave sort of the, I don't drink Bud Light because it's not American. Yeah. So what happens with these things is, there's the big backlash, and there's the big talk, and all the folks do whatever. But at some point in time, Bud Light is still mostly sold at many places, and it's the simplest beer. And if you're at a venue where that's all they're selling and you want a beer, you're getting a Bud Light. So while nobody really expected to see Kid Rock sitting there rocking a Bud Light at this concert, it just happened. He wanted a beer. That's what was there. He didn't complain about it. He didn't say, "Screw you, Bud Light. I ain't drinking no beer tonight." Yeah, Kid Rock wasn't. Probably won't be back as the #1 beer for quite some time, just because it takes time for these new things. And these new ads, this new campaign they have, it's fairly solid, and it would have been fine if they're not trying to basically get back to people who are just whiners, to be honest, people who just want to think they're fighting the power by not drinking beer, I guess. So Bud Light not quite back yet. Kid Rock apparently back in his good graces, because probably it was all the beer they had to drink. Now, Miami's Mayor Francis Suarez claims he's qualified for the GOP presidential debate. RNC can't confirm. At least they didn't confirm this last week when we pulled the story up. Right now, what we know about the debate on Wednesday is, 1, Suarez says he's in, but we'll see how that happens. 2, there's about 8 people legitimately in this thing, including Ron Christie. Not Ron Christie, including Chris Christie, Ron DeSantis, of course, And it looks like everyone's going to be there who made the list except for one Donald J. Trump, who officially said he ain't going. Although we'll see what happens. Counter programming is expected for Wednesday during the debate. Right now, the rumor is a interview with Tucker Carlson, who's not selling many books, so maybe they'll sell some books for him. But we will see how this thing plays out on the weekend. Oh, Chris Christie, because he signed the pledge to support the general nominee for whoever gets the job. But he already said he might sign it, but he's not going to. If it's Donald Trump, he's not going to go with it. So says everyone else who signed it, they'll go with it unless it's Donald Trump, and then they're not going to support him. They've all said that. Let's go to the next story, which happens to have this headline of Spain beat England to win first Women's World Cup. Now, let's not get all, underwhelming because the United States aren't in it. And we are, as I'm assuming most people listening and watching this thing are from the States, although we have a lot of worldwide people contributing and listening and watching as well. But Spain got the Women's World Cup for their first time, beating England 1-0, or 1-0 as they say, in the final on Sunday. As Olga Carmona scored the only goal of the game, and Spain was awarded a penalty in the hour mark, but goalkeeper Mary Earps saved it from happening. So congratulations to Spain for getting that big win, making history as the first win for them in Women's World Cup. In the errors, apologies, and omissions part, we're going to throw this real quickly. We probably should put the football stories here and put more stories into the actual 10, but this is one that got a lot of attention in my household that apparently wasn't picked up until late in the weekend, although we posted it for you guys very early in the weekend. You got a lot of response to it, but we're talking about Ron Cephas Jones, the Emmy-winning actor who starred in This Is Us, who died over the week at the age of 66. So check out the link that we have for that at our website and inside of our feeds and go deeper into that story or search for him yourself. But this is the one thing we did not get into the top 10 list because we only had 10 listing to get in there. So Ron Cephas Jones will make sure he got his flowers on this morning. Our teaser story for today. This is where we explain how the feeds work, how the teasers go, and they're very simple. We put news stories out on our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. We do that every 50 minutes or so. As you see those stories on your Facebook or your Twitter, and it looks like Threads is fairly soon going to pop up with this on a web version, so we can actually do this that way. You just engage in the story and tell us what stories are interesting. Like them, love them, hate them, share them, however you want to give it some exposure. We get the numbers from the stats and pull them down and take a look and see which stories are the most engaging. And we take those stories and list them up and give them to you here. Every Monday, we take the top 30 stories of the weekend, and there were over 90 stories posted of the weekend, and we give you 10 of those top stories. For the rest of the week, Tuesday through Friday, we'll give you 8 stories from 15 stories. So it's a much more denser pick and a quicker ride, if you will. Today's teaser story, which we could talk about tomorrow, is this one. Panic spreads as Snapchat AI goes rogue, refuses to answer, and uploads its own story. Maybe ChatGPT is coming alive overall. Maybe this Skynet is really ready to do things. Maybe it's actually Snapchat we should be worried about taking over the machines. Check out the story, read it, see if you want to engage in it further. And if you do, just give it some hearts, give it some laughs, give it some thumbs up, share it with some folks. And the more engagement the story gets, better chance we have of talking about this one tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/th_conversation. Today's spotlight sponsor is I Heart RVing, and go to see our link at this is a conversationproject.com/RV. This is a very interesting sponsor here that we have, that they're just trying to get more people camping, more people enjoying the outdoors, and more people RVing. And RVing is like the best way to actually enjoy the outdoors, because you're not actually outdoors. You're technically indoors, but you're indoors outdoors. You take the little house with you, drive it someplace, and park it outdoors, but you get a chance to stay inside in power, air conditioning, actual stoves, storage spaces, real bed, cable TV, things like that in your RV. So enjoy the outside all day long and enjoy the inside you like to enjoy inside at night. So iHeart RV can give you plenty of places, ideas on places to go RVing, ways to get an RV, whether you want to buy or rent, and just other things to do in your travels. Check it out at thisisaconversationproject.com/RV. This is a conversationproject.com/RV for more details about how you can be a better RVer. And remember, this is an affiliate link, so we don't get anything unless you actually click the link and use something from them. So you go through the site and get plenty of information. And it doesn't cost you anything, and we don't get anything for it. So not that we don't like that, but just let you know, it doesn't cost you anything to click the links. But if you actually click links inside of this, that's where we get our affiliate commission. If that's a bit complicating, then let's. Ooh, we didn't take. Uh-oh. Well, that's interesting. For those of you on the video, on the audio, you have no idea what happened, but we had a whole bunch of ads just kind of popped up in one place, and we only wanted to talk about one. So we didn't bombard you with 3 different ads. We're going on to a promotion spot and talk about the Conversation Project. Homed at this is conversationproject.com, and where you can find all the details about what we do at the Conversation. We have all of our shows, our weekend shows, a weekly wrap up, and the story of the week, plus where you can find us in various places that we do extra stuff, such as TikTok and YouTube Shorts, doing little blasts of news here and there. Of course, the Conversation Project presents this thing every single weekday, things you might have heard at 5:50 a.m. live, or you can see it recorded all over the place. If you think what we're doing is pretty cool, we ask you to make sure you keep following us on the feeds and email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com so that we can get your responses, get what we can for you for your feedback. If you think what we're doing is really, really good and want to help us do that, check out our partnerships page at thisistheconversationproject.com/partnerships and see if there's ways that you can want to partner up directly to help us get more stuff done. We thank you so much in advance for either partnering with us or just following us along and telling us what to talk about, because we don't do this without you. You tell us what to talk about. You put the words in our mouth every single morning, and so that is how that all works. Now, let's get into the fun stuff. Oh, I didn't actually promise you fun stuff, but guess what? Fun stuff is coming regardless. Whether you thought it was coming or not, you're getting your dessert. The fun stuff for the 21st of August starts off with birthdays. Today's birthdays listing are Kim Cattrall, 67 years old, who has rejoined the cast of the Sex and or Sex In, whichever way it goes for the city, their new version, and about that, or and so this happens, or whatever's in there. But she only plays about, I guess, 5 minutes standing in a parking lot on a phone call. She does not actually interact with any actual cast members before, because apparently she still hates them. Carrie-Anne Moss, 53 years old today, the biggest role that she's had, the most prominent role, of course, in the Matrix movies, but, still knocking things out of the park. And Kelis, turning 44 years old today, singing about milkshakes, I'm sure, all day long. Milkshakes are great, especially now they're using that song for, like, the Sonic commercial, so, that's royalties right there. And the sort of weird version she's doing for the DoorDash thing, or Uber Eats thing, gotta get the right one straight, where Diddy is producing their songs, but now talking about Uber Eats. Kelis is 44 years old on the day. Our history lesson for the 21st of August, going back to 1858, the first of 7 debates between U.S. Senate candidate Abraham Lincoln and Stephen A. Douglas was held in Ottawa, Illinois. The Douglas-Lincoln debates, or Lincoln-Douglas debates, were very famous for sort of putting up the standard for what people did. They rolled in on a train. The train stopped at the train station. People rolled up and watched Douglas and Lincoln come out of their cars, yak for back and forth for a little bit. They clapped, they got back in the train, and they drove away to the next spot. The first of 7 of these debates happened back in 1858. In 1959, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed an executive order proclaiming Hawaii the 50th state in the Union. So this is a somber moment for the day, especially right now as Hawaii is dealing with the tragic devastation of the wildfires from 2 weeks ago. But Hawaii, our latest state, I'm pretty sure Hawaii came in after Alaska. So Hawaii's only been around less than 60 years. It's, well, no, I guess less than 70 years, or about, because my math is not good this year. But it's amazing what's going on, and putting a little spotlight on Hawaii, which would have been a great celebration to this day if they weren't dealing with what's going on in the fires. And in 2020, Korean pop group BTS released its single Dynamite. It became the first video to be watched more than 100 million times in 24 hours on YouTube. I'd love to get that kind of viewing, but I don't sing about condiments and dance around in funky dances, so apparently I'm not in the view for that type of things. Today, August 21st, is a celebration of Poets Day. Now, on Friday, we celebrated Bad Poetry Day. Friday was specifically for bad poetry itself. Today, celebrate the poets in your life, whether they're good poets, bad poets, or, lawfully, chaotically evil poets. Whatever the kind of poet they are, give a poet some love on this Monday. Maybe they're just, a mascot poet. Your school was the poets. Celebrate those guys as well. And finally, One more thing you might not have heard: a steady diet of sodas could hinder your ability to reduce or even shorten your life. Researchers from the University of Utah gave mice a diet of 25% sugar, equivalent to 3 extra sodas per day in people, and found that males were less likely to reproduce or defend their territory. Females had it worse, dying at double their normal rate. The mice weren't fatter and were have past physicals despite the negative health impacts. So the sugar's toxic damage is all, quote, under the hood. As a person who suffers from type 2 diabetes, I can tell you for a fact that's where it all works out. The sugar does so many things to your insides that you got to be careful with it. Whether you do have something like a endocrine actual issue, or you're just sucking down sugar because it's tasty. Uh, Energy drinks along the same way, where there's a lot of sugar and caffeine in them as well. Back away from the sugar sodas, back away from the sugar, because it's going to be much healthier for you. With that, we are done for the day. The Monday, August 21st, 2023 edition of Things You Might Have Heard is in the books. Thank you so much for being with us for this ride today. It wasn't such a wild ride. It actually was really smooth, other than having all the buttons pop up for the ads that weren't there. Trust me, we weren't trying to sell you extra stuff. It just sort of happened. Come by every single weekday morning for this show in particular, and we will give you at 5:50 a.m. Central Time a quick rundown of the stories from the past day. Today was past weekend that you might want to be engaging in and talking about going forward in your water cooler talk. Make sure you are following us on our feed so you keep telling us what to talk about all day long and all night long, and make sure you're staying hydrated, staying limber, and on task. Those are 3 things that you should do to basically help you live a better life. Pretty simple things to do to keep yourself in the game, because the game of life should be long. So make it as long as possible. Once again, we're sending out our thoughts and prayers to folks who knew and people who loved Ron Cephas Jones, dying this past week at 66. And we're getting into another brand new week. We're almost through with the 8th month. We're almost into the third quarter. We're almost done with the third quarter. We got 1 more quarter after that. So it's a long road to go. Let's get through this year. Let's get a couple more years. Let's get through it all. Let's get through today. We'll see you when we do this again come tomorrow.